welcome to this edition of the Reliability Experience. I'm George Williams.
And I'm Joe Anderson.
Sure is.
Yes.
And today we're going to discuss root cause analysis.
Ooh.
Or you termed it root canal analysis.
Root canal analysis.
Root canal analysis.
It's like pulling teeth to get people to do it anyway. So.
All right, so root cause analysis, I guess we should probably define that a little bit.
Yes.
What is that?
What is a root cause analysis? It's a tool or methodology utilized to drive to the causes of an issue.
Oh, nice.
Not normally a single cause. Hardly ever, if never ever, a single cause. There's normally multiple causes.
If I were to do a root cause analysis on the universe creation, could I drill it all down to just the Big Bang?
No.
There's probably other things that caused the Big Bang.
Other
right?
causal factors.
Oh.
But that would mean it was caused.
I'd like to
Which
see.
would be self-contradictory. But anyway.
All right. So, in root cause analysis, we're trying to determine the causal factors of an event. So
Yes.
we're looking at, well, what caused you to decide to pick that shirt?
My wife.
Oh, okay.
So there's only one cause. So a simple 2 why would have figured that out. Why? Because of my wife. Why? Because she said so. And that's it. 2 why done.
Too wide.
See?
Dude, do you know how many books we would sell with the 2 why theory?
Why?
Everybody would go, we could do this more efficiently.
I know.
We can cut 3 of these Y's out of here.
I know. That's effective.
All right, we're writing a book,
I already
2 why
got it.
analysis.
No, it's effective root cause analysis.
Effective root cause.
Yeah, because 2 why.
Lean root cause analysis.
Lean root cause analysis. Got it.
2 whys. The
Yeah.
lean approach to root cause analysis.
The first one, why, and it's because. Then the second why, you actually make
and
something,
then you
whatever
just
your
name
opinion
the person you're going to blame.
is. Yeah, right. There
Because
you go. Because James. Thanks, James. What a jerk. It's all your fault. Hey, we got this, man.
All right, so lean root cause
Lean
analysis.
root cause analysis.
That is coming your
Why?
way soon.
Because. Why? James.
That will be in a
Thanks.
bookstore soon.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a one-hit wonder. It'll be 2 pages and then 300 blank ones right after that, so you can take notes. That's it.
All right. Well, we can do a bunch of examples,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why? Because.
Because.
Why? Well, there's so many names.
Well, that's what we can do. The top 25 baby names each
There-
year.
there
We'll
you
rewrite
go.
the book.
Yeah,
Second
every-
edition, third
second
edition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got a bestseller on our hands.
You got to pick the baby names from like 30 years ago. This way it associates to somebody in your workplace.
I think further back.
You can say, 40 years ago.
Yeah,
45
well,
years
like,
ago. Yeah.
even further, I think those names are awesome.
Like
Like,
Jeremiah.
thanks, Bethel. Jedediah. You know?
Why? Because Jedediah.
Thanks, Jedediah.
All right. Can we... Or
Can we get on with this?
Yeah, let's
30-minute
talk
intro.
about it.
Okay. Get to the point.
All right. So in root cause analysis, what are some of the common methodologies?
Common tools used. You always hear 5 why, fishbone diagram, or cause and effect diagram, or what's the other one? Infinity diagram. I think they're all the same.
That's a 5 why.
Yeah. Why? So some of the common tools and methodologies used today that you'll see in the industry is a 5 why, cause and effect diagram, fishbone, infinity diagram, whatever you want to call it. It has 3 different names for the same tool. You have cause mapping, fault tree analysis, Pareto analysis. There's a lot of tools. Just about anything you do can be considered root cause if you look at what we consider some of the tools to be when they're actually not really tools to help you get to root cause. But
And is it like my actual toolbox? I can pretty much use any tool in there for any job? Like if I need a nail smacked in, I can grab the back of my screwdriver. I can use that. I don't necessarily have to have a hammer, you know?
I mean, it can be the wrong tool for the wrong application. You still use it.
Drywall screw, and I get the hammer, and
it's not as effective.
Knock the screw in.
Yeah. I do that with my hand. I was like, you know?
Forehead.
Forehead, whatever. It depends on how many beers I've had.
Yeah.
So a 5Y, I would say, is not the be-all, end-all of root cause analysis tools when you're trying to solve an issue. In fact, but it depends again on how you use it. If you use it to create a fault tree, it can be productive. But if you're just doing a simple 5Y straight line down to Y, I would recommend against it. And there's not a whole lot of effectiveness to it at that point.
That was the end of your story? I don't like 5Ys?
I like the 2Y.
You're 4Y short of a 5Y, you know that, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm 3Y short of the 2Y, which is what
I
like.
2Y short of being lean and rich and selling that book.
Right. Yeah. So, but we'll get there. It's more effective.
Lean.
Because Jedediah.
All right, so not a fan, 5Y? Okay.
What? No, I mean, so historically, the 5Y was created in the Toyota Motor Company to get people at the line level to start asking questions as to why they're seeing a problem. It's become this formalized root cause tool and blown up into something it was never intended to be. It was only to get people to think deeper behind issues that they were seeing at the line. And when they couldn't resolve those issues at the line, they would elevate those problems up to a team of professionals that understood all the tools that were available to them to go out and try to solve the issue. So they weren't solving it with the 5Y. They were just being taught to think.
Well, if it was a simple issue and they could solve it right then and there, they certainly
But it
did.
wasn't a documented piece of paper going through all this stuff. It was just, it's basically basic troubleshooting and critical thinking 101. It's why did this happen and what can we do to fix it?
Let's work our way backwards, Absolutely.
Right. And it's kind of been branded and marketed and blown up into this thing that many people believe is the tool to use because they don't truly understand root cause analysis.
We're going to trump that with the 2Y.
The 2Y is taking over. And then addition 2 will be the 1Y.
2 Ys.
Yeah.
If you count the arm part. If you count the arm.
Yeah.
V's this way.
Well, once we get it to the 1Y, it's just going to be the letter Y. It's not even going to be the
just
whole
Y.
That's so effective. Or maybe we come up with a symbol. I don't know. Like a Y.
All right, so what about the Ishikawa fishbone approach?
Ishikawa, it's a good tool for brainstorming, right? So you're trying to figure out all the causal factors and wanting to map those out. Its deficiency is the fact that you're not truly solving anything. You're categorizing what you believe to be issues. And some are fact-based, some are not fact-based. And the problem with doing a root cause is you want to try to have as much evidence as possible backing up any theory that you come up with. But if the problem is so complex you can't figure it out, all you really can do is brainstorm and categorize. And it depends on what categories you're using. You can use different categories.
And I think it completely misses the boat on the cause-effect relationship, right? I mean, it skips that entirely, right? Mm-hmm. You may say this is caused by that. I'm going to list them both, but now they're two separate categories potentially, right? And so
there's gaps
in a relationship between them is gone.
Right. Yeah, all the gaps in between to tie the dots together. That's what you're trying to get to, is to see what are all these things that lead up to that. Like my car didn't start and battery dead, right? But it doesn't ask any questions as to why the battery was dead or anything like that. You're basically stating conditions.
So you never solve the fact that you left the interior light on.
Right. There's nothing to fill in the gaps in between.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so let's move on to Pareto analysis. Joe, what do we know about Pareto?
So Pareto is a charting mechanism based off of what's called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. That 20% of your assets, for example, have 80% of the problem. So, but it's charting, bar chart. You put them in order from greatest to least, and the goal of that analysis is to give you direction as to where to focus, depending on what it is you're doing the Pareto on. So it gives direction basically, but not necessarily root causes.
Right. So I can look at the most expensive equipment to maintain. It's going to give me a bar chart going from tallest down to smallest, and I'm going to say attack these little guys.
No.
Oh.
You're going to go after
We're going to go after the big opportunities.
Yeah.
Oh, that now I get it.
Yeah, but that's not telling you a root cause of anything. It's telling you where to go to perform possibly the root cause analysis that's needed.
So it's a step that gets me to the next one.
Which is most of the tools that we consider root cause tools are just that. They're these tools that help you identify where to focus, and then you've got to go execute the RCA.
And in some cases, you can take the causal factors, like let's say you did a cause map and you have all these causal factors. You can say which ones have the most impact to the business, or which ones can I economically get rid of, and you could Pareto that, and then you say, okay, well, here's the things that have the best impact at the cheapest cost. Let's do those 5 things. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's not
in and of itself. It's not a root cause analysis.
It's not telling you anything about what the root cause is. It's giving you direction and focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got? I like this episode.
Let's go.
I'm not really doing anything.
Well, it's my turn to flip it on you. So I'm going to make something up here.
Nice.
No, I'm just kidding.
Tell me about a 2-ply.
Yeah. What about a fault tree analysis?
I have no idea. I had a tree fall once, and I tried to figure out what happened, but it just fell. Yeah.
The fault tree analysis?
Oh, that's not what you asked for.
Yeah, fault.
Fault tree.
Fault.
Oh, it's like your family tree, but whose fault it is.
Right.
So,
So
you've got the big brother, you got the the middle sister, and an older sister, and you got all the family tree, and the fault tree is who everybody points to when the glass breaks or.
Right. Unless you're from my family, then it's just straight.
It's straight.
Just a straight line.
Pennsyltucky.
Kind of. It's a branch.
Nice.
Not really a tree.
All right. Fault tree analysis is essentially a guide from an event through all of the causal factors, and it kind of takes some of the other root cause analysis tools to another level, in that you have to understand the relationship of those causes to the event in front of it, right? So each cause and effect, each effect may have multiple causes, and the fault tree analysis looks at how those are related, whether they are AND gates or OR gates. So it uses a simple AND and OR gate setup to say that this event or this factor has 2 causes, but if both of them have to occur, then they have an AND gate. So it's this and this to cause this. If it's an OR, then it's this or that to cause that. If it's an XOR, then it's one or the other, but not both to cause that.
So if that causes this, then that could be the cause of this.
Yeah, it's really simple.
Yeah.
So to explain it,
it's
right.
Them cause.
But the good piece of this, and this is something that is prevalent on the safety side of things, because it looks at the exact factors and kind of puts them into not really a timeline, but an interrelationship kind of timeline. Not time in terms of distance of time, but sequence, right? So it puts them into a logical sequence. And if you take a typical fault tree for an asset failure, it kind of creates a troubleshooting guide. So if I know that this asset went down and it's caused by this or that, plus this or that, and then this is caused by this and this, I can kind of use that as a technician to say, well, the symptom I'm getting is this one. It might not be the failure yet, but the symptom I'm seeing is this. What were those causal factors? Right. And I can start testing those out to determine whether or not one of those is an issue that's creating this sub-event, right? So fault tree analysis is also good for preemptively setting up that troubleshooting guide. So you can do a fault tree analysis on an asset without an event occurring. You can kind of pick all the components and say, okay, if this component fails, what are the contributing factors? The issue with that is it misses most of the human interfaces. It misses many of the other things, right? It's just a machine troubleshooting guide at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're actually doing this for an event, you'll get a lot of the human factors and latent issues as well.
So tell me about a cause map.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
I like cause mapping.
Yeah.
So cause mapping is essentially an unlimited why. It's why unlimited.
Oh. We won't go there.
Not even going to mention anybody in that. It's why unlimited. Right? So a cause map looks to understand the causal factors as far out as you possibly can on the map and identify as many possible causes as you can so that you can then determine which ones are, have value and can be removed or can economically be removed to reduce the probability of the event occurring again. This approach is, very good for plant floor asset related events. It's also really good because you can teach folks this at a high level to be in the room relatively easy. They can get the concept if you go through a basic example with them. I like cause mapping a lot.
Nice. And then I think something that we haven't addressed yet is why so many of the root cause analyses seem to fail today.
Mm.
And why do you think that is? I mean, if they truly worked, right, we would go out and we'd execute it and actually find all the causes, which we don't normally do anyway.
I think the biggest issue from my perspective is we don't drill down deep enough.
Yeah.
I think what happens, there's a couple of things that happen. A, the absolute first thing is we don't actually require a root cause analysis.
Right.
We have we have these meetings, and once a month we sit down and we look at production performance. And month after month, it's a little short of our target, or our targets are so low that we actually achieve it. But our targets are low because we're just not aiming at what the equipment was designed at.
Right, we have no confidence.
So we see this delta, and we have the meeting. Go, how come that was low? And they go, well, the conveyor fouled, and we had 2 hours of downtime, so we were a little short. And that's the end of the meeting.
Right.
We ignore the thousands and thousands of minor stops that occurred the month. And we only bring up this one event, and then the one event we just say, well, the bearing fell, and that's the end of it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we explained it, we know why we're short, so now it's acceptable, and we move on, and that eliminates the ability to even try to improve, which is the next step where you're going to decide, does a root cause analysis apply? And if
well, the next step is the only one why they ask, and it's not really a why.
So who?
It's a who.
Who?
Right? And it's...
Who messed that up?
And then we call it root cause.
That's why you need that fault tree analysis.
Yeah. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? That's the question.
Right.
Whose fault tree
Fault tree analysis is like an org chart of incompetence.
Yeah. It's like everybody.
Of people who will accept blame.
Yeah.
And then this way, when there is an event, you can reference the fault tree and blame somebody.
Well, that's what I do is I put the org chart up on my wall, and after I blame that person, I just put an X. So I know have to blame them next time, so I can move on.
I'm an equal opportunity blamer.
That's it. Like, I blame that guy already. I can't do that twice. So I got to blame this one. And I just keep working my way up. That's what we do.
All right, you just make sure your own photo's not on the org chart.
Right.
You circle that one or
well, I have it
first.
Separated. I mean, it's like, Godhead over here with me
and then the whole organization.
Yeah, everybody
and there's
else.
X's everywhere.
That's the everybody
else's
fault
out.
tree.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Nice. It's like the 3 envelope joke, right? With the blame the last guy.
Blame the last guy.
Right.
Nice.
All
so
right.
we addressed why they're not effective. We addressed some of the common tools. I mean, there's others. There's so many. People say FMEA is a root cause analysis tool. Some of those types of things, FMECA and FMECAs, all this type of stuff. So they lump a lot of things under there, and in a way I can see as to why, and I would agree with some of them, but most of them are tools that set priority to drive us to go do a root cause analysis. So
we should do a root cause analysis on why root cause analysis is not effective.
I got it in 2 ways.
Well, that's
because
going to be the whole premise of the book.
Jedediah.
The whole premise of the book.
Yeah, number 1 hit right there. That's a New York Times bestseller already. I can see it.
So when I was talking about why they foul, I kind of glossed over. They don't go into enough detail and go enough down, but we didn't really explore that too much.
Oh, sure. The systematic.
But the issue is, if you're in a tool such as a 5Y, you're still at really basic reasons at the 5th level.
Yep.
You're not down to we lack training. You're not down to procedures.
Well, it could be. Depends on how it's executed. It's not enough detail.
Yeah.
We've already the problem statement is the other thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it'll be bearing broke. Why? Because we didn't lube it. Why? Because we didn't have a grease gun. And it's like, then they circle it and go, well, this guy didn't know lubrication. Well, thanks, Johnny. You didn't know lubrication. It's all your fault. And then we just kind of leave it at that. And
time to get a new Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I marked him off already. I gotta move on to Kevin over here. Get Kevin off the list somehow.
How do we change that?
We got to dig deeper. Right. So.
And that's why I like cause mapping. That's why I like that approach. I think that again, it's why unlimited, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can even put it, say, in swim lanes, for example, or you can do all kinds of stuff when you're trying to figure out the layers.
Yeah.
And there's so many little things you can do with it to drive down to latent and systematic causes.
We just saw a really good presentation on
that. Yeah, really good one.
Yeah, it's not like 3 unlimited. It's Y unlimited.
You had to go. All right. Oh, yes. He did. So.
All right. We got more on the overview?
Problem statements.
Oh, that's not overview.
Well, basics.
How long is this show?
So.
I got a beer I got to drink.
Right. Back to problem statements. So the problem with a lot of this in an overview sense is that we don't define our problem well enough, or we've already solved the problem in the problem statement.
Yep.
And then we force everyone to focus on just this one thing, where it needs to be a little more broad. It's not the bearing failed. It's kind of more of what were the repercussions of that failure, right? How much time was lost? We lost 120 minutes of production.
I like to have my problem statements at that level. Mm-hmm. I much prefer to say we lost 2 hours of production. That was the event. That's the impact.
Right.
It's the bearing failure or conveyor stopped, or that's not the issue here. The issue here is we didn't produce high quality product to our consumer.
What's our purpose, right? And especially in manufacturing, we're there to produce. And so when you're not producing, it's not bearing failed. And there's so many things that led up to the bearing failure, and that was just one piece of it. So anyway,
So get your problem statements at a level that adequately defines the impact of the business.
Right. Without spending 45 minutes on problems.
Oh, yeah, no, this is like, just write it.
Very, very generic in the statement. Yeah. So,
although around it, contextually, there's a lot of questions you answer, right? When did it happen? What was the relative time? What shift or something like that? Who was there at the event? There's a lot of information in the whole who, what, when, where, how, why, and not why. Who, what, when, where, how, and why unlimited. 2Y. 2Y.
Who, what, when, where, 2Y. Solved. Bestseller.
Get your fault tree analysis done so that you can do a 2Y.
The who fault.
Because.
The who fault tree.
And who you haven't X'd off yet.
Yeah. That's it. No. Overview's done.
Done.
Anyway, enough wasting your guys' time.
Use guises.
You guys,
He's
you know,
already a Philly guy.
who fault
I
tree.
like that.
The who fault tree.
The
That's
who
one
fault tree.
word.
The who fault tree.
Yeah,
That's gonna
that's
be,
one word.
that'll be another whole
Who
episode.
fault tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the 2 wives. So the 2 best-selling books will be out soon.
All right, this is starting to sound like a delicious dish episode. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
right. Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and help support the channel.
Or not.
We appreciate it. Yeah, it's up to you.
Feedback's feedback.
Hit the dislike too.
Yeah.
Dislike is a dislike. So
How do we get better if we don't know when we're not good?
yeah, which every video should be all dislikes at this point. Unless you're a brown noser. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, so we appreciate you hanging with us, and we'll see you back soon.